What is going on, Grinders? It's Chief. We are in the building. It's the Showdown Pre-Lock Show. I am Will Priester, a.k.a. Chief Justice 06, and that is Tim Buell, a.k.a. TastefulTides. Tim, how are you doing today? First of all, how's your main slate going? And then we will get into this Showdown slate.
My main slate was dreadful. It was awful. I wasn't even close. I missed out on a ton of things. Really bricked today. So it was very, very disappointing day. I hate losing main slates, because it's a pretty big day in terms of bankroll, right? So at least for me it is. So it's always kind of disappointing to lose main slates, but I'm hoping to make some back showdown here. Did you do anything main slate? Well,
oh yeah, but it wasn't great. I got some stuff reasonably right, if that makes any sense. But I mean, listen, man, that's just certain guys you had to have. And I just saw TJ mention something about 18. So first of all, just from a real life perspective, none of us expected the Bills to lose today, and they lose, and the Panthers lose to New Orleans, my beloved Panthers. Once again, this is why I didn't want to get too excited. Shame on me. I went on the live stream, mushed TJ, and then the Saints come to town and get us. How about Houston winning a football game today with Mr. Mills? And so many, it was a wacky Sunday of football. And thus the DFS scores slowly followed that wackiness. But we've got showdown tonight. We've got an interesting game with the Steelers and the Chargers. Obviously, we got a quarterback that I think, Tim, we're going to consider in his prime right now in Justin Herbert. And then we've got another quarterback, at the back end, kind of the last hurrah here of sorts. With Aaron Rodgers, at some point he's got to hang the cleats up. Two teams that are in the thick of it, Tim, in the AFC. So if the Steelers continue to win, they probably win the AFC North. The Chargers, we'll see what happens. They played really well. How are you feeling about this from a real game perspective? Total's 45.5. Chargers at home, and then we'll hop into the DFS part.
Yeah, so total's 45.5. Chargers are -3. They're favorites at home. Line and total make a lot of sense to me. Like if I was just looking at this blindly, this is right around where I would have it. So nothing like really that shocking to me there. This is two above average teams. Like you said, Herbert is in his prime. Aaron Rodgers is well past his. Herbert's been really fun to watch all season long. He's really going to be the story here. He's going to be the story in terms of real life, just watching the game, and he's going to be the story of DFS today because you're going to be getting to a lot of Herbert. Whether you're playing him at flex or captain is up to you, but you are going to be rostering him because he's clearly the easiest click. He might lead his team in rushing as well. So he's a dual threat. He's a dual threat quarterback here. So absolutely somebody that you're going to be getting a ton of. But let's kind of talk about some other positions that we can discuss to maybe gain some separation in GPPs and hopefully take some down.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about it. We're just going to start at captain and MVP. The reason why I do like it this season, Tim, is we've got both sites are kind of in a similar boat where they're penalizing us for MVP or captain. So not quite as much of a difference on FanDuel as we've had in the past. Sometimes there are some pricing discrepancies near the bottom where some guys might be a little bit too cheap, but generally speaking, we're about the same here. I am going to start on DraftKings where, Herbert is at the top of the food chain and for good reason. At the captain position, it does look like if I'm reading this correctly, and I'm kind of following along and talking as well, in the Sims, which I know you're into, Tim, some really interesting optimals looking like Jaylen Warren may be the optimal captain tonight, which makes sense because of his dual threat ability in the run game and the pass game. What are your thoughts about Herbert all the way up top? Do we just stuff Herbert in there and say, hey, dare people to beat us? Or do we follow the Sims and follow down the Jalen Warren path?
It's a really, really tough call. When I knew I was gonna be on the show later, I made a kind of dummy lineup, just like built it in like 45 seconds. And I had Herbert and captain, and I just filled in the rest. And then I went to go start running stuff, running optimals in lineup HQ. Then I started running sims. I realized that I had built the optimal team, like the number one highest projected team. And I was like, that's gonna be duped so many times. And so I got thinking, if we are going to be rostering Herbert and captain, how are we going to be able to get different with our flex spots? Because so I'm not sitting here saying that you can't roster Herbert or captain. You obviously can. I'm getting to Herbert just behind Warren in terms of exposure at the captain position in Sims right now. But all I'm saying is, I wouldn't just go Herbert, Ladd, Gadsden, and then Warren. That like core right there is you're gonna be duped a ton. That's gonna be really, really, really popular lineup construction on DraftKings. So just if you are gonna be doing Herbert, you have to ask yourself like ways that you can get different, in your flex spot. So, you probably shouldn't be playing Jonnu Smith. You should probably trying to pivot down to one of the other value Steelers pass catchers, getting off of some of that aggregate ownership of Jonnu Smith, who's going to be super popular. You might not want to even play Jalen Warren. You might want to consider pivoting to DK Metcalf or something like that to get off of that Jalen Warren chalk. So right now, I currently have Warren as my captain, but it's a real toss up between Warren and Herbert. And then I think really any of these primary Charger pass catchers could be your captain tonight, whether it be Aronde Gadsden, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Keenan Allen. Getting those four, correct in your exposures, correct at captain, that's what's going to win you this slate, because they're going to be the Chargers are so pass heavy, and I don't expect them to blow Pittsburgh out. So I think they maintain their regular kind of strategy here. So those four pass catchers are like the most important parts of this slate. So personally, I think if I was going to captain one of those four between Gadsden, McConkey, Johnston, and Allen, I think Gadsden would be my favorite, followed by Ladd, followed by Keenan, and then Quentin Johnston. But they're all super close. I mean, do you have any hot takes between those four? Do you have any hot takes who your preferred captain would be between Warren or Herbert? Or do you have somebody else on your mind?
So here's what's crazy. And this is something I looked at, Tim. When I looked at Justin Herbert's numbers, right? And when I say numbers, I'm talking about fantasy production. I want to make that very clear. His last three games against Indy, Minnesota, and Tennessee, he's been above 25 fantasy points, 32, 26, and 28. Those are his last three. 250 passing, 227 passing, 420, obviously, in that wild Indy game. Rushing yards have been above 30 every time. He's got one rushing touchdown, not all of that, but at least two passing touchdowns and three or more, or three in two of those three games where he's putting up video game numbers in terms of fantasy production. And so for me, Tim, then I'm like, well, where's the trickle down effect, right? Like if he's going nuts in the high 20s or 30s, then who's kind of the guy? And Ladd's put up 20 in one of those games. Johnston's put up like 15 in one of those games. Gadsden, I think he put up 32 in the Indy game. And then you got Keenan Allen, who's he put up 31 in the Indy game. So then you say to yourself, well, hold on a second. So you got two guys that pretty much put up 30 when he did, and the one guy we expected to did not, which was Ladd essentially. And then you go to the pricing. And Tim, I know I'm going like all the way around the bush to talk about this, but I promise there's a method to the madness. My point is, Tim, I think if you're playing Herbert tonight, you better have two receivers. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you get – I could be wrong. My point is, I don't think you can get away with one because if he's rolling, at least two of these guys are going to get there. At least two. And the way it's looking, he's still going to be the guy, and the other two guys you're going to need. Like, they'll be somewhere between 15 and 20 points, 15 and 21, 22 points. Let's call it that, Tim. So to answer your question, I think it's Herbert, and then I think you're taking Gadsden and one of the receivers for what it's worth. That's what I think. It's either Gadsden and McConkey, Gaston and Johnston. Like that's the way I'm rolling it, because I think Gaston has the best floor ceiling combination, and so does Ladd, but he's way cheaper than Ladd, like by $2,000.
The only thing that I would say, yeah. So I'm just worried that if you go Herbert to captain and you only go two of those wide receivers and that's it, that's going to be like you're going to have to really pay attention to the rest of your team, because that's going to be there's going to be so many lineups that start that way with Herbert, right, and then two of those four primary Charger wide receivers or pass catchers, I should say. So that does just concern me a little bit with that construction. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying, though.
Well, here's my thing. I'm going to fade Jaylen Warren in that build, though.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'm going to fade Jaylen Warren and play Aaron Rodgers in the pass game. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's the way I'm going to play it. And I'm going to say, hey, Jaylen Warren rushes for, as an example, Tim, 50 yards, has 4 catches for 30 yards, and does not get in the end zone. And everybody else gets all the touchdowns. And Aaron Rodgers throws for like 235 and 3. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's my approach for this one. But anyway, that's how I'm playing it at captain. Do you have any spicy captains, if you will, Tim? Just kind of off the beaten path. Like, what if does Kamani Vidal get in the end zone twice in this game? Like, how does that thought process work for you?
Yeah, I'm not getting too much Vidal at captain. I'm not really even getting him much at flex. I would say DK Metcalf. He's going to be relatively low owned relative to the rest of these Chargers pass catchers, relative to Warren. So I think DK Metcalf is the guy if you really want to get different at the captain spot. It would be DK Metcalf. I also am getting to some Jonnu Smith at the captain as well.
Okay, that's very spicy. I think that's spicy, Tim. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think DK Metcalf is actually pretty spicy too. As weird as it sounds, like he's not going to be owned at the captain spot. I mean, he's going to be probably a little bit under owned, even in flex. So I think DK Metcalf is pretty spicy. Outside of that, that's it. It's going to be. I would really just keep my pool. The primary Chargers and Warren. I don't really know. I'm getting to very little Aaron Rodgers in captain. I don't even consider Aaron Rodgers like an optimal play for like cash games or like smaller risk type contests. I'm not getting to miss much Aaron Rodgers. You did say that you wanted to play into the passing game here. Is Aaron Rodgers somebody that you would consider captain?
No, I'm not playing him at captain. I am not, and I probably should, because now that I'm thinking about it, Tim, he's not really going to have much ownership at captain either. But once again, I don't think the true upside is there to help us win for the captain spot. Flex, I'm fine. I can't play him at captain tonight.
Yeah, so you are going to be getting Aaron Rodgers at flex, though, you think?
Yeah. But that's because of my approach. I'm really trying to get leverage off Warren, believe it or not. Like I think Warren's going to be. I think he's going to be higher owned than we have here, and Rodgers is projected to have more ownership than Warren. I think Warren comes in a touch higher than we think. But that's also game script and me saying in my head, I feel like the Chargers get out early and the Steelers have to play catch up. And if so, they're not going to be able to just turn around and hand Warren the ball like usual. And even though he'll be involved in the passing game, and I know we're hopping around a little bit today, Tim, but I've sneakily got interest in Kenneth Gainwell at 4K today. Like
he does project really pretty well.
Interest, yeah.
He does project pretty well. You're just saying at flex or at captain?
Yeah, no, at flex. Sorry, at flex.
At flex, yeah. I was gonna say I wouldn't do it at captain. Flex, I have no problem with that. He's 4K. We haven't projected for 8.5 points, a little bit higher than that. He's not going to be chalky. I think you could even conceivably play him in a lineup with Warren. I don't know how you feel about that. You could just get all that backfield and then build it around maybe 4 Chargers, or maybe go like a 3-3 build. But I don't mind Kenneth Gainwell. I was considering him in my primary team, but I decided not to do it since I'm going to be captaining Warren. That's one thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't put Warren as captain and play Kenneth Gainwell, because you're going to want all the TDs from Warren if he's going to be in your captain spot. But I do like Gainwell here. I think he's a pretty strong value play if you need the savings, and he's going to be less owned than like Jonnu Smith at 3,200. So if you just pay up a little bit more, pay that extra $800, you get off of some of that ownership, and you're not sacrificing. I mean, he is technically projected for more points than Jonnu. So I mean, you're getting a decimal point more points than Jonnu.
Which is a big deal in Showdown. That decimal could be the difference between $1 million and $2,000 split up. Believe it or not, like that, and that's the truth, guys. We're not making this up. That's a big deal. So yeah, let's go to Flex Tim, which we're kind of already there. You mentioned DK Metcalf as a guy that you really liked, just in terms of, once again, we're not saying he's not getting owned. We're saying comparing to where he probably should be, he's under where we think he should be. Talk to me a little bit more about DK and how you're viewing him in this particular slate today.
Yeah, so straight up, I do prefer Jaylen Warren, but Jaylen Warren is $600 more. DK Metcalf would be my next favorite Steeler at 8,400. He's projected for ownership. Personally, though, I think he's going to be a little bit lower. Like right now, we have him.
Because I think Warren's going to be way higher. Well, not way, but maybe 5% more than where we are. I think I would give Warren somewhere between 35-40.
I think the field's going to go a little bit higher than what we have on Warren and a little bit lower than we have on DK Metcalf. And I personally, I think that Gadsden at 24%, that's what we have him right now. I think he's going to be a little bit higher than that. So I think that these Charger pass catchers are going to end up being higher on the Metcalf. I mean, when Herbert's your captain, you're going to want to be clicking on Ladd. You're going to be wanting to click on Keenan or John. You're going to want to click on these Chargers pass catchers. You're not going to want to pair Herbert captain with DK Metcalf. So I think he's going to end up being a little bit lower here. I think this is a pretty good spot for him. The Chargers do struggle a little bit on the perimeter, and that's where DK Metcalf excels if Rodgers could get him the ball, right? And that sometimes that's a big if. But these are the chances you have to take in Showdown. It's not supposed to be comfortable. It's not supposed to be easy. So I do think DK Metcalf is a really strong play, both at flex and in the captain spot.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it at wide receiver here, Tim, because I do feel like we've kind of discussed the Chargers guys. Like I think Ladd, Johnson, I know Gadsden's at tight end, but we're just going to consider him part of the receiving core. Keenan Allen, like we talked about those guys. Haven't quite talked as much about the Steelers passing game, probably because Aaron Rodgers is so old, and I guess perhaps we feel like their passing game is a bit pedestrian, which I do. I just think they'll be behind this game, and so they're going to have to find some way to move the ball down the field. At some point, time will be against them, Tim, and they're going to have to throw the football. So, I know, and I like DK also. How are you feeling about these other guys, the Austins of the world? Obviously, we're kind of grouping Morgan that he's a running back, but Austin's kind of the next guy down here for Pittsburgh in the wide receiver room. How are you feeling about him?
Yeah, I'm not getting to any Austin at 6,200. I completely get it if you're building out a portfolio of teams, but he's not somebody that I'd be getting to in 3 max. I think that's just a little bit too expensive because we have this really strong tight end room, right, for the Steelers, and I think that's where we kind of have to figure out what we want to be doing. We did get a question in chat. Why are we rating Jonnu better than Freiermuth and in Washington? I just think Jonnu's route participation is going to be the highest out of those 3, but it's super, super close. Like Jonnu and Freiermuth are projected for practically the same. It's probably just that $200 difference that's making Jonnu Smith's projected ownership a little bit higher, and the fact that he runs a few more routes than Freiermuth. So it's super close between those 2. Whereas Darnell Washington, he would be like you'd be getting really, really creative. You'd be taking a chance with Washington, whereas Freiermuth and Jonnu Smith are significantly safer than Washington.
Yeah, the interesting thing about it is Washington, while he hasn't been like nuclear over this last stretch, I mean, he's pretty much been, around 8 fantasy points outside of the Green Bay game. That's in 3 of the last 4 games. On the season, though, I mean, obviously, it's been all over the place. But, 8 points from him tonight could be huge at 3K. So, wanted to throw that out there.
And then there's Then there's Roman Wilson at 2K. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Will.
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah, but Roman Wilson at 2K. He's definitely worth a dart throw here and there. Again, not somebody that I'm going to be getting to in 3 max or single entry. But if you just want to say, listen, I don't want to play this tight end roulette with the Steelers. Maybe none of them get there. Maybe Roman Wilson can break a big play. I don't mind that at 2K. Outside of that, I don't think outside of like a 150 set, I don't think I'd bother with any of these super, super cheap Steeler players.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. All right, Tim, I'm moving on. We've kind of covered a fair amount of these guys. I'm going to move on to my least favorite position in Showdown, and that's defense, Tim. I am an anti-defense Showdown guy unless it's got to be painfully obvious, like Bartolo Colon is starting at quarterback. And by the way, guys, Bartolo Colon is a pitcher in Major League Baseball for the Mets and almost every other team. Like it's got to be like painfully obvious that a team is not going to be able to move the ball for me to even consider playing defense, or Tim, a combination of bad quarterback play and really rough weather. Like that, those are kind of my 2 where I say, okay, maybe I'll consider some defense. I don't see that here tonight. I think both teams move the ball and score some points. What about you?
I very, very rarely play defenses. It looks like the Steelers. Looks like the Steelers are going to be around 18, and the Chargers are going to be around 14. That feels a little bit too high for me, given the fact that I don't really love these spots. I wouldn't mind. I guess I wouldn't mind going to the Chargers. I just have very little faith in Aaron Rodgers in this matchup. So I wouldn't necessarily hate the Chargers here, but I don't. I'm not clicking on their defense tonight. I would prefer the Chargers over the Steelers. I think the Steelers defense is actually pretty bad. Outside of their run defense is decent, but I think they're going to be giving up a lot of points here to Herbert. So I have no real interest in the Steelers defense.
Fantastic, Tim. Not going to beat a dead horse. Everything you said is what I would have said. All right, we're moving to kicker, which is typically one of my favorite spots because usually, Tim, these guys are fairly affordable and have double-digit point upside, especially a guy like Chris Boswell, who the Steelers don't mind letting kick 5 field goals a game. And believe it or not, Cameron Dicker's another guy. Like, they don't mind allowing him to kick, Tim. So, you know, I like this spot for both kickers. If I had to side, I think I'm sided with Boswell because I do feel like Coach Tomlin is going to be a bit more conservative than Coach Harbaugh, but that's just me personally. How do you feel about these guys? I think both kickers are great.
I'm getting into a ton of both these kickers and Sims in the flex spot. That makes me want to say that maybe getting to some double kicker lineups in GPPs is probably a good idea tonight. So I think projections and Sims are very, very high on kickers. I think I would actually lean Cameron Dicker, but it's super close between the two. If you're playing like cash game type builds, I'd definitely be playing one kicker in cash tonight. The kickers are projecting really, really well. There's enough value also where, you know, you can punt one spot, play a couple of mid-range guys, and still get really premium studs in your team. So I see no issue with playing kicker. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting to 32% Cameron Dicker. I'm getting to 27% Chris Boswell. I mean, I agree. That's a pretty high amount in flex. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. In my mind, I think at least one of these guys goes for 12. And I think they've got upside for 17. Once again, Tim, and what I'm saying is a guy kicks a 40-yarder, maybe a baby 30-yarder or something, or another 40-yarder before the half. They've scored 2 touchdowns. That's already got him at 10. And then, Tim, maybe they stall out. They kick it up. You know what I'm saying? The kickers that they let kick, they can get to 12 to 15 points fairly easily if they allow them to kick. And if they take the points. And I think these are two coaches, especially Coach Tomlin. I know he will take the points, Tim. If their first drive, they get down inside and they can stall out, they're going to send Boswell out there to attempt the field goal. Like, they're not going for it on 4th and 2. They're going to take the points. And so that's why, you know, coaching tendencies, I think, do matter for kickers. And I know for sure with Boswell and Dicker will get his chances also. So I agree with you. I like both. All right, Tim, we are going to start with some questions. As long as you are done with your analysis, I don't want to overshadow anything extra that you want to add to the recipe.
I just wanted to mention Jarrett Patterson really quick as like another maybe like fringy GPP play, 2,800. Has gotten a little bit of work here out of the Charger backfield. You had, you know, not 9 touches last game. He had 11 touches on the 23rd of October. So, I mean, he is getting used here and there. And I think that he could possibly, you know, maybe steal a touchdown here and maybe win somebody a GPP. So I would definitely add him to your pool out of this cheap nonsense that we've been talking about. Same thing with Trey Harris as well. I think he would be a way to get different in terms of your pass catching core if you're captaining Justin Herbert, is to get like a sprinkle here and there of Trey Harris.
Yeah, totally agree. Tim, I'm going to hop in the live stream chat first, and then I will hop in YouTube. So we're heading to the live stream chat. This is Yaz's Army, and this is his question. Tim says, I'm taking 2 to 3 teams out of 20 to go heavy Steelers, including the defense, which I hate. Do you think the running game for Pittsburgh or the passing game really comes down to Warren or Metcalf? Thanks for your thoughts in a DK GPP.
So it sounds like they want to do a couple Pittsburgh onslaught stacks. Sounds like they want to do like a 5-1 Pittsburgh, which, I mean, that's definitely going to be a unique way to go about it. I don't mind that. Yeah, I would say that Warren and Metcalf are going to be the most utilized members of that passing attack. If I were doing that kind of build, I would probably still captain Warren and then just build out your 5-1.
Okay. Sounds good. You heard it here first, Yaz Army, right from the mouth of Tasteful Tides. Tim, this is another one for you coming from Carolina Guy 828. Favorite FanDuel single entry MVP. And then additionally, favorite low-owned flex. Staple question for my boy Carolina Guy 828.
Yeah, Carolina Guy. We know the questions he's going to be asking every night. We love that. Yeah, MVP on FanDuel isn't a whole lot different than it is on DK. I'm getting to quite a bit of basically it's Justin Herbert and Jalen Warren. I think you pay the 20.7 for Herbert in the captain spot. You got guys like Jonnu Smith who are really, really cheap that you get that source of value with. Let me see if there's anybody else who's like kind of more unique. That's like a good points per dollar play on FanDuel. Roman Wilson, 4.8. Interesting pivot off of Jonnu Smith, kind of like on DK. Kenneth Gainwell, 5.8K. He's another kind of decent pivot there. So if you don't want to go chalky, use Roman Wilson over Jonnu.
Yep. I like that call quite a bit. And Tim, I did want to point this out. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Out of 9 games this season, Cameron Dicker, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 9 games, double-digit fantasy points.
Yeah.
4 out of 9. And some of those ones that he went under were like 8 and 9 points. His highest was 17.
I don't remember seeing this many like such a high percentage of both kickers in Sims. Like usually, I mean, they always will show up, obviously, because kickers are a great source of points. But at this high of a level, it's surprising to see them in flex that much.
Yeah. And once again, this is just me pointing things out. Chris Boswell, highest fantasy point production of the season, 20 fantasy points, Tim. Kick 4 field goals that game an extra point. Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of his games, 1, 2, so 14, 12, 15, 20, and 10. Those are his 5 games at double digits or more. Obviously, he had some hovering around 8 as well. But once again, they will give these guys their opportunities. If they're on double digits, are likely. Okay. Let's see. I don't see any questions really in the YouTube chat, Tim. I think everybody's probably on board with us. I feel like we did a pretty good job of talking through things, gave them some lower price guys, mid-range guys, and definitely I think we talked about our captain. We're starting to get some now, DKGPP. This is coming from Derek, our good friend Derek, who's always around. Thanks so much for joining us, Derek. Boswell or Gainwell? Which well are we going to, Tim?
I think you go Gainwell, assuming Derek that you don't have Warren in your captain spot. If you don't have Warren in your captain spot, I'd go Gainwell there. Projected a little higher than Boswell, and Boswell is going to be higher owned. So I would go Gainwell as long as you don't have Warren in your captain spot.
Yeah, I mean, look, either choice should be fine. I love the fact that you're saying Gainwell because of the ownership. I love that call, Tim. Also, guys, do you want to make good decisions like Tim? Come on and get the 3-day pass promo with our NFL twos. If you want to try it out without a full season commitment for a limited time, you can get half off a 3-day NFL pass and access to everything you need to crush the slate. You'll get our Optimize the Lineup tool with Lineup HQ, packed with player projections, ownership percentages, and more. You will also get SimLabs, which Tim and myself have talked about extensively on tonight's slate, which is the easiest way to build smart competitive lineups in just a few clicks. All that and more for only $9.99. Do not miss your chance to get a serious edge for the next 3 days. Then, of course, folks, we've got Combo Pro. Are you looking to get into Combo Pro? Why not get more bang for your buck with this deal? For a limited time, you can get your first month of Combo Pro for just $79.99. That's only $5 more than an NFL DFS monthly subscription. Do not pass up this elite value. And Tim, our elite value tonight, I think is coming from the tight end position, which is Pat Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, and maybe Mr. Washington. And then we've got a little bit of Kenneth Gainwell and also the kickers. I feel like those are some of the best values on the slate. Tim, I'll ask a few more questions, and then we will get you out of here. This is coming from Nick Genovese. And I think that's Genovese. It could be Genovese. Nick, give me the dictionary explanation of your last name. I want to make sure we get this right. Great last name, by the way. Whether it's Genovese or Genovese, could be Genovas. Just give it to me, Nick. Love the last name here. Gadsden or Keenan Allen? Who are we running?
Yeah, this is a super tough decision. I think a lot of people are going to be wondering this as well. I mean, I wish I could be, really sure here. I can't be. My lean is it's Gadsden. You save $1,000 as well, but it's going to be really close between those two. I'm leaning Gadsden personally.
Okay, sounds good. This is coming from Diego Torres. If I'm running single entry FanDuel and have Herbert at MVP, is it smart to have both McConkey and Johnston, or should I switch to someone else? I think that's pretty chalky, personally, but I also don't think it's bad. I think the rest of your lineup needs to have you can get some leverage in one of these spots that's going to get your overall lineup not as chalky. Chalky, yes, but I don't think it's bad. Tim.
I think that's a perfect answer, Will. I have no issue with you playing two pass catchers with Herbert. That's just going to be a very, very chalky way to start your lineup, just like we talked about at the beginning of the show. So just make sure that you're kind of trying to get really different somewhere else in your lineup.
Yep. Sounds good. And I'm checking, Tim. I don't see any new questions. I'm going back to the live stream. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss anything. Okay, and we do have one more for the live stream. This is also from Yaz's Army. If I'm trying to get off the Smith chalk, referring to Jonnu, but want to stay with the tight end, Freiermuth or Washington, who do you like best, Tim?
I would go Freiermuth.
Sounds good. And then last question of the night coming from Jim. Do we have some form of a feel it in the plums play, Tim, that we want to give the people before we sign off?
I think DK Metcalf is going to be your optimal captain to win you the flagship on DK for, I think it's $250K tonight. So I think that's going to be my plums play is DK Metcalf in the captain position.
Sounds good. My feeling the plums play, Tim, is a little bit cheaper than yours, but does play for the same team. I don't know why it is. I really like Kenneth Gainwell today. He is a guy that I think we should be rostering. Folks, you've been live with myself, Tim, Tasteful Tides on the NFL Showdown pre-lock show. Thanks so much for TJ producing behind the scenes. I know you weren't feeling great today. Get well, buddy. For everybody watching, for everybody listening, we want to thank you for inviting us into your homes. This has been the Showdown pre-lock show. We will see you back here again next week.